Welcome to the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Guilty Pleasures Cooking. Now, recently, a dear friend of mine, and I guess you could say this is kind of a collab idea that we've had for a little while, when we talked about it, he did an amazing video. So I want to take a moment and thank my dear friend, Spirit Wolf Ian, for the inspiration for this side of of this cooking video. He did it, and for those that don't know, I'll try to provide a link in the description below. But he did a video on how to make a pot noodle. Now, I'd never heard of a pot noodle. I didn't know what it was. For those that don't know, Spirit Wolf Ian lives in the UK, the United Kingdom, and for me, being right smack dab in the middle of the United States, I'd never heard of a pot noodle. Come find out, when he did the video, I knew exactly what he was talking about. A cup of ramen, more or less, was the instant noodle that he was using. So the pot noodle that he was talking about was like this right here. Now, of course, these come in a wide variety of different styles. Obviously, ramen noodles come like this. We're all familiar with this. A lot of us might take this to work and crack it open, put some water in, throw it in the microwave, and we call that lunch. And that's something we're all pretty familiar with. Is, as they would say in the UK, this is our pot noodle. But along with that, we also have other ways that we can enjoy our instant noodle or ramen noodles. We've got dishes just like this little guy right here. It comes with all the fixings you could need, and of course this is pretty similar again to this. All right, this is what we're all familiar with. All right, and then of course we have our standard instant or again ramen noodles right here, and we've talked about these here on the channel numerous times. They're cheap, inexpensive, and they're not bad. Unfortunately, dear old Prince Magnum doesn't get to enjoy them like a lot of other folks do. These are fried in a palm kernel oil, which gives them the shelf life of uranium. Palm kernel oil isn't exactly heart healthy. So for that reason alone, I enjoy them when every now and again I get to enjoy them. But for that reason alone, that's why they have the shelf life that they do. Really quick, for those that don't know, our ramen noodles, or again, instant noodle, pot noodles, have some interesting origins themselves. This type of noodle was actually designed in China, if I remember correctly, right around the 1950s. And for those that don't know, at that time in China, the communist regime, the CCP, was, had full grasp of China. And there was a large famine going on. They needed a way to feed the populace. So these little guys, started feeding the populace. Because again, they had a long shelf life, and they're cheap and expensive to make. Which also sometimes leads people to believe that they're not exactly healthy for you, which to a degree, they're absolutely right. But there's some that will even go so far as to say that they're actually no nutritional value. So now that we've kind of covered, a little bit of history and some knowledge of the different types of instant noodle, or again, ramen noodles that we have available to us here in the United States, and of course this just covers a couple of them. I know Ian, what he did was he basically took this one right, something just like this, a little bit different over here in the States, and that's what he cooked up. Well, I'm feeling a little ambitious. So here in just a moment, we're going to do something a little bit unexpected with our ramen. Alright folks, over here, like usual, every good cooking show has some cooking in it. Basically, I've got a pot of water here, about 1.5 inches from the top water. I've got 2 packages of ramen noodles right here, or again, instant noodles. And again, the same type of noodles you'll find in your pot noodle. And normally what a lot of folks might do at this point in time is they would take these noodles throw it into a bowl, hot water, let it sit, that sort of thing. There's even, this is the chicken flavor, but we're not going to need the flavor packs, and we'll get to that as the video progresses. At this point in time, we're going to wait till the water comes to a boil. Oh, and since we're not using the flavor packs, what we're going to go ahead and do right about now is I'm going to grab some pink Himalayan salt. Not a lot. I'd say about maybe, 2 to 3 teaspoons of it. And we're going to add that right in, right like such. From there, again, we're just going to wait till the water comes to a boil. And then once our water comes to a boil, from there, we'll be able to do some serious cooking with that. Alright? So, again, like all good cooking shows, I'm going to go ahead and fold time and space, and I will see all of you in a few minutes. Alright folks, while we're waiting for water to come to a boil, hey, it's an electric stove. It moves as fast as it's going to go. But in the meantime, we're going to need some garlic for our dish. And what I've got right here is about 4 good-sized cloves of garlic. Now I'm going to show you guys something pretty interesting, because I know a lot of times when it comes to garlic, it can be a pain in the neck to get it all chopped up, or, smashed and chopped and all that other good stuff. Well, what I have right here is your standard dough blade, okay? A lot of people that do a lot of baking would be familiar with this particular device. Well, it does other stuff besides work with pastries, and let me show you. I've got my cutting board right here, and take and bring the garlic together right like this. Lay the dough blade right over the top, and no mercy! And give it a good smash right like that. Then once I've done that, now I can then just chop it up using the edge of the blade, and I have chopped and crushed garlic now ready to go. I can just work it until I get it down to the size that I want, and add this into pasta, tomato sauces, rice, whatever I want. So now you guys got a really cool tip for making the cutting and chopping of garlic so much easier. Alright. Won't be much longer, and we'll be able to actually do up our ramen noodles proper. So here we go again, folding time and space. Alrighty. Our water is at a boil. We have bubblage. So because we have bubblage now, let's go ahead and get our, again, instant noodles, ramen noodles, the basis for pot noodle, as you would know over in the UK. So, Spirit Wolf Ian, good buddy Ian, my brother from another mother, it's time to get to cooking. You're going to love this, man. Alrighty, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this, because we're not going to use that. And I'll explain why as soon as the noodles go in. But we're going to get the flavor packs out because we don't need them. Then we're going to add our ramen noodles, if it'll cooperate, to the boiling water. And the nice thing about this is it really only take a couple of minutes. Try to get them in there. And depending on how many people you're going to be cooking for, gosh, just kind of figure it up from there. So we're going to get these in. Let the boiling water do its thing. So now that we have that going on, many of you might be asking the question, Prince Magnum, you used regular salt, why didn't you use the flavor packs? Well, we actually use pink Himalayan salt, but there's a reason why we don't use these flavor packs. That's exactly what these are. It's just salt, okay? And it's salt that's flavored, well, in manners that might make might make us cringe a little bit. And let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of times you'll see artificial flavors. What are the artificial flavors? A lot of times if we dig deep enough, a lot of times the flavors look pretty similar to what you'd find on a paint can. So for that reason alone, we don't use that. It's bad enough we're already cooking a particular noodle that's been, that's actually been fried in a palm kernel oil. We don't need to be adding that in as well. So we add in our own flavors, knowing exactly what we're getting. So, thus, what was once potentially unhealthy dish now stands a chance of being a little bit healthier. And these really only take a few minutes in boiling water. But keep an eye on them, okay? Don't wander off, because a couple of minutes, what would be nice, perfectly al dente noodles will be mush. And that's not what we're looking for. Mushy noodles. I don't know if that'd make a good cooking episode. Alright folks, our instant noodles, our ramen noodles, the same noodles you'll find in your pot noodle, like over in the UK, is now done. But we need a colander. I've had this little guy for a little while now, and it served me well. So, real quick reminder before we begin straining off the water. This is hot. This is not. So please be extra careful, because if you don't, I have two words for you. Burn ward. So please be careful, okay? Don't burn yourself while doing this. Alright, we're at the stage where we're straining, and shoot a little bit of cold water on these. Why would I suggest you hit these with a little bit of cold water? That's easy. The reason why you would hit these with cold water is because despite the fact that you've got these off the heat, your noodles are still cooking, okay? Carryover. So take the time, spray on a little bit of cold water, stop the cooking process so your noodles stay perfectly done. Alright, so now we can go ahead and bring these on over to a bowl of some sort, drop those in. Now this will look pretty similar to what you're all familiar with when it comes to, say, spaghetti noodles. Put them in a glass bowl. Why would you want to put them in a glass bowl? Holds on to the heat better. So, because if you use like metal, the heat just, metal's a great conductor of temperature, okay? So the heat will travel from your noodles to the metal bowl out into the ether, never to be brought back to your food again unless you just add more heat, and then we're just running into other problems. So let's just skip all that. Alright, and just like regular spaghetti noodles, we can take some extra virgin olive oil. Now's the time to go ahead and break out the good stuff. Okay, we're going to add that on just like so, bringing on just another layer of flavor. But what else can we do to make our instant noodles amazing, flavorful? We've got our chopped garlic that we can now add in. About 4 cloves. Stir that right in. Okay. And for a little bit of fun, let's reach over here into my cabinet of specialties and grab out a little balsamic vinegar. A little bit goes a long ways. Now, we could have easily made a vinaigrette for our instant noodles. Nah, we don't have to go that far. Quick splash, just like that. Doesn't take a lot. Just enough to bring on a little bit of extra flavor. And now, we're ready to start dropping into a bowl. Looks amazing, doesn't it? Going from instant to top shelf. Not bad. That looks amazing. And as simple as falling off a log. But before we serve this up, we need to grab a couple more things. You guessed it, my personal favorites: black pepper, Parmesan cheese. Don't skip on something like this. Put all this time and effort into making a nice dish. Fresh ground, and of course, freshly grated. Now that is what I call instant noodles. Check that out. Isn't that something? Looks great, tastes good, and it's not as bad for you as it once was before. We have garlic, which is heart healthy. The pink Himalayan salt that we used at the beginning for our water will bring on other flavors. And the minerals in the pink Himalayan salt is actually pretty good for you. Along with that, vinegar is also good for the blood. Just a lot of great flavors for an instant noodle, or again, ramen noodles, that wasn't exactly good to begin with at the beginning of this, but now it stands a chance. All right, so I hope all of this has inspired all of you to maybe take your instant noodles and crank it up a notch. But before we get to the usual spot, I want to take a moment and I want to thank a dear friend of mine again. I want to thank our dear friend Spirit Wolf Ian for inspiring all of us here on the Prince Magnum channel to do this episode. This was kind of a collab idea that we talked about doing. So, because some of the foods over there might be the same, but it's, talked about a little bit, it's under a different name. It's same food, just different name. And sometimes they'll be talking about something over there that it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'll say, well, is it kind of like this over here? And they have no idea what we're talking about. So I guess you could say the one thing that we can all agree on is good food. So, now that I've said that, remember to check out the Patreon and consider becoming a member of the High Mileage Club. $1 a month. All proceeds go back into the project cars. Along with that, be sure to check out the Teespring store. Might be something on there that might grab your eye. But beyond that, because I'm awfully hungry, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.